Hi everybody, it's Julianne. It's Saturday. This is another Baking with Friends back here in Brooklyn in my Brooklyn kitchen where I'm going to have Lina, my friend Lina today, join me as we make almond coffee cake, or I guess if you pronounce it correctly, almond coffee cake. This recipe can actually be gluten-free if you use all almond flour, or you can do a mix of flours. So you can go ahead and make it all-purpose flour. It could be with almond flour. It could be basically any of the mix of that. And the same thing can goes with the sugar that you're putting into this. It could be a non-refined sugar, a honey, a maple syrup, a coconut palm sugar, a date sugar, whatever you have in your cabinet. Let's go ahead and try to use that. So I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees. So everything needs to be room temp. Your eggs. Oh, here's Lina. Let me see if I can. Let's see if this works out for us on the first try, which we've been most of the time been really good at. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're Lina. There's Lina.
Hello.
Hi. All right, first try. It worked. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So I went ahead and I just said your oven is preheated to 350 degrees.
Yeah, just got
Yes? Okay, cool. Oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Your eggs should be room temperature, separated. If you've not separated them,
I'm not separated. Okay. Do that real quick.
So that way, you'll be ready for that. And while you're separating your eggs, Lina, I'll tell everybody else what we need. So you're going to use butter melted. If you don't want to use butter today, you can use olive oil. That's fine. Just add some salt into that because we're using salted butter. We're not adding extra salt into the batter. If you have unsalted butter at home, you can add salt into the mixture, about a quarter to half a teaspoon, depending on how salty you want it. But right now we are using regular salted butter. So butter, you've got your almond flour if you're using almond flour. And again, if you want to use like an all-purpose flour instead, because that's what you've got, you've got a bread flour, a cake flour, whatever flours you've got, that's fine. Most of the almond flavor is actually going to come from the almond extract. So we've got almond extract, we've got vanilla extract. We have creme fraiche, which is a French fancy for sour cream mixed with a whole bunch of heavy cream, so it just tastes better, I guess. And then you have got eggs, which Lina dropped. It's okay. It's okay.
I tried to separate them. I mean, they're separated.
Save the one that you've accidentally messed up to use for, like,
Well,
omelets or something.
yeah, I have the egg. We need the egg whites, right? Not the yolks.
You do need the yolk we're separating them out, so.
All right. I'm gonna have to get another one.
Okay. That's okay. The great thing about eggs is if you mess up, you can use your egg and use it for something else, right? You can make an omelet or something, or just regular eggs, So eggs, baking powder, almond and vanilla extract. If you want to be fancy, I am adding some amaretto today. You can go ahead and omit this completely, but I've had it on hand, and it imparts like a little slight, nice kind of hazelnutty flavor, more nutty than anything else. So those are all the things that we're using today. So oven at 350, and if you're like Lina, you are separating your eggs. And the reason why we're separating our eggs today is because this almond cake is gluten-free. You're not going to get a rise like you would normally get from a regular gluten-based flour. So we're using the egg whites today to impart air into our batter. The air that we use with our egg whites when we create a meringue out of them is going to aerate the batter, and that's what's going to help give it that kind of light, fluffy lift of the cake that you're used to. It's not going to rise a whole bunch, but it's going to give it more than it would if you left that out completely. Because if you wanted, like, let's say you don't have a mixer and you don't want to beat your egg whites,
right?
Then you could totally just use regular. You don't have to separate your eggs; just put them right in. But because we're looking at something that I said that's like gluten-free, that requires the rise, that's why there's so much baking powder in it, by the way. We want to go ahead and give it as much help as we can. But, if you're in like a lazy baker mode, or if you just don't have a mixer and you don't want to whip your egg whites by hand, then add them straight in as is. And you can just ignore us as we make a meringue on this side. So But again, if you don't have any almond flour in hand, you can grind your own almonds. You can make your own almond flour with some like nice slivered almonds with their skins cut off is the best kind. Or if you just have regular almonds, that's fine. And then you can use that, or you can just use, like I said, you can go ahead and substitute in for all-purpose flour. But those are the things we need today to make our cake. So, while, oh, that's a huge bag of almond flour.
Huge bag. Amazon.
Oh my God, that's ridiculously large. Okay, I'm down with that. So today you can use any 8 or 9 inch pan. It can be a pie pan. It can be a round pan. It can be a square pan. It doesn't really matter. It could be a loaf pan. Ooh, that works. I am using a circle pan, and I've got a bit of parchment paper that I've cut out that I put on the bottom of this to help it be non-stick. You can use parchment paper. You don't have to. If you don't have it, that's fine. You definitely have to butter your paper, your pan. Butter, or you can use olive oil spray or cooking spray, whatever you've got. I like using, so I melted butter earlier, and this is my butter wrapper, and I just take the same wrapper that still has some butter on it. I don't know if you can see it. I just use that, and I just go all around my pan.
Okay.
My pan. And do the bottom too as well. Even though there's parchment paper on here, I'm still going to do the bottom. And normally people usually like flour on it, but because we're trying to make it kind of gluten-free, I like on cakes, I take sugar, which for better or worse, it's probably worse for you, but it's going to make it super tasty. But I take sugar. I just like get like a tablespoon or 2 of sugar, and I go ahead and I put it in my pan like you would with flour. I just dump it right in. And then what you do is you just circle the pan, and if you've buttered the pan, the sugar will stick to the sides, and that's going to act like the if you buttered and floured it, but now you're buttering and sugaring it. And what it's going to do too is it's going to create a caramelization around the edges of your cake, and it's going to make it crunchy, which I enjoy. So, and then you just stick it all around, and if you've buttered your pan, it should stick. And you can just tap out any excess.
How much butter are we using again, Julie?
Half a stick. Not for the pan, but for the batter, half a stick.
Got it.
Don't put half a stick of butter on your pan. That is a no. No, just don't do that. Too much butter.
Too much butter.
Too much butter. Okay, so I have buttered and I've sugared the edges of my pan. That's going to help this be non-stick. I put that in quotation marks, non-stick. Again, if you don't have butter, you can use cooking spray. That's fine. Parchment paper is extra. You don't even need the parchment paper. I do it just in case.
I'm gonna go without the parchment paper just to see what happens.
Okay. Extra butter it. Don't be shy about the butter. And if you don't want to use butter, like I said, cooking spray is fine. And then you just put this to the side, and that's gonna go ahead and hang out while we make the rest of this batter. All right. Oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Hi, Sherry. And we are gonna go ahead and get our mixing on. So we're gonna go ahead and grab the half a cup of melted butter. Make sure that it's not piping hot. You're going to end up scrambling eggs if it is. So make sure it's kind of like, you can put your finger in it and it doesn't burn, you're good. So
you put it like 30 seconds at a time?
Yeah, I would say yeah, 30
okay,
seconds at a time. You can cut it up into pieces if you want it to melt a little bit faster, or you can put the whole stick in. It's totally up to you. I went ahead and I melted on the stove top because the last time we did this, I was putting butter in the microwave and I put it in a bowl that wasn't microwave safe. And so my microwave started like making those little fuzzy, kind of lightning storms inside the microwave. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to melt my butter now on the stove. Butter. I melted on the stovetop. That's half a cup. I'm just going to go ahead and dump that straight into my bowl, and I'll give you a look at my bowl right here. So I'm taking my butter that I have melted. Again, you can use olive oil if you want. I'm going to grab my spatula to get the rest of the butter out. Look at all the nice solids. All right, I'm gonna put that in a bowl. And I'm hoping today, this thing sometimes fizzles out. So hopefully today, this will stay correct. Okay, there we go, butter. And then, to this butter, I'm gonna go ahead and add a 1/4 cup of creme fraiche. If you don't have creme fraiche, which again, is the kind of equivalent of like a French sour cream with like more cream is basically what it is. You can use sour cream. You can use yogurt. I would recommend using a thick yogurt, a Greek yogurt, or a whole milk yogurt is the best kind. If you're going to be vegan about it, use a nice alternative yogurt like coconut yogurt, something fairly thick. So I'm going to go use this is the creme fraiche. It almost looks like clotted cream for those who enjoy that. And I'm just going to dump that straight into my bowl, into my butter as well. That's a 1/4 cup. And again, don't have to be fancy at the moment. And then to this, and then let me know, Lina, if I'm going too fast and you're still somewhere and you have questions. Okay, perfect. All right, and hopefully last time what was going on was this thing kept on fizzling out, but hopefully this time it will not. So I've got my butter, I've got my creme fraiche, and I'm about to add some sugar. So I've got about a cup of sugar. This is regular or, you know, granulated or cane sugar. If you don't want to use refined sugar, that's fine. You can use honey is a good alternative. Maple syrup people like using. Some people like using date syrup. If you are using a liquid sugar, a non-refined sugar, I would use about 2/3 of a cup. Otherwise, everybody else is using about a cup of sugar. Now everyone's going, that seemed like a lot of sugar. Remember, we are making a coffee cake. And traditional coffee cake is fairly sweet. But you'll be happy to know that I cut back the sugar that are normally in these kinds of recipes. So even though it sounds like a lot, it's not as much as it could have been. So now you can feel better about it, right?
Definitely.
Right?
I mean, almond flour makes it all better, right? It's like
Exactly. It's still healthy for you. You're fine. So I've told Lina that I was going to pseudo experiment with this. I am using half granulated sugar, and I'm going to use half date syrup to see what happens. Whether or not this is a good experiment, we're going to figure it out. But everybody else, 1 cup of granulated sugar or about 2/3 cup like honey, if you want to be good. So that's going to go straight into my bowl. That's my sugar. And I told you I'm going to use this date syrup that I randomly had in my pantry. And I've been trying to be good in using all the things in my pantry instead of like buying a whole bunch of stuff. So in goes 1/3 of a cup of date sugar. So, but if you're using all like syrup, like, you know, maple syrup or honey, it's 2/3 cup. All right, that goes in. Oh no, what it is. My camera turned off.
okay, wasn't sure. I was like, did I lose you?
And hello, Mary. Thank you for joining. And Mary is going to answer any of the comments below if anybody has any questions while Lina and I start doing things around the kitchen and we stop paying attention to any of the comments that are going on. You can ask her any scientific-based questions you should know because she technically is a scientist. She will say she's not a food scientist, but she technically is a scientist, so she should know. No thanks. So, all right. So I've got my creme fraiche, my sugar, my melted butter into my bowl. And then I'm also going to go ahead and add in my egg yolks, just the yolks. And we're going to mix that all together in the bowl. I'm just going to use a whisk. Initially, if you've got a hand mixer or stand mixer, you can totally use that. I'm just going to go ahead and whisk it, and I'll go ahead and add my egg yolks now. There's 2 of them. Go ahead and add that. And then just start to mix it until it's fairly incorporated.
Okay, I'm going to be lazy and use my mixer.
I say go for it, Lina. Go for it. All right, so those are my egg yolks, and I'll give you guys a view of my bowl, and hopefully my camera doesn't die again. Here's my bowl, and I'm just mixing it like so until it's incorporated. And it's going to look like kind of a gloopy mess, which is fine.
Ours looks so different already.
All right.
Yeah, the date syrup.
I think that looks fairly good. All right, the rule of thumb with cakes is we try to add all our liquids at once and then we do our dry ingredients. So once that's pretty incorporated, mine is extra brown right now because I added date sugar and liquid date syrup, and that's brown. So
I mean, that sounds like it's gonna be really good.
it should hopefully be good. Maybe it'll.
I think it's gonna be good.
So that's why mine is brown. Yours probably not brown because you're using regular sugar. So that's what's happening here in the bowl. I like adding all my liquids at once before we add in the flours, because once you add the flour and you overmix your batter, that's when you have problems with cakes, because you'll overmix cakes. So if you're using, well, everyone should be using almond extract, because this is what's going to give the flavor of the almond in your almond cake. You think it's the flour? No, no, no. It's the almond extract. it's almost like you're using almond paste, but without having to buy paste. We're using 1.5 teaspoons, which is aggressive. And that's what you want, because that's all the flavor for almonds is the extract. So 1.5.
All right.
Straight into the bowl. So I'm going to show you. This is 1. Woo! If there's a little bit extra that goes in.
You said teaspoons, right?
Yeah, 1 and 1/2.
Okay, 1.5.
And I'm adding the other half. I have to get rid of this bottle, so whatever comes out, there we go. And then if you want to be a little bit fancy to add a little bit of a different flavor, this is where you can add your vanilla. If you want about 1/2 teaspoon, just because you want to give it a little bit of a taste of the vanilla, but you don't want the vanilla to overpower the almond. The almond,
okay, got it.
Right? But you don't have to put it in also.
I'm going to.
Okay.
I'd rather do overkill.
I can't open my vanilla extract. I'm so sad. Do you guys like where you run it under hot water? And then I'm trying to use
hot water or like wet towel?
Yeah. That doesn't work. I might just use some vanilla bean paste actually. So,
How do you get that vanilla bean paste?
I got this one in the grocery store right next to extract actually. This brand is Taylor and Coolidge, but there's like a whole bunch of different kinds. You could like Nielsen Massey, I think is the other one that's pretty good. But this was right next to my grocery store. This was right next to the extract, so I bought some. And then if you wanted to be super extra, like I'm about to be, I'm gonna add some amaretto, about a teaspoon.
Okay, that's extra, and I don't have that, so
yeah, don't worry about that.
We're going in 2 different directions here.
Okay, that's okay. I just do a little splash. People that are a little bit boozy can be a little bit more extra with that and add more than that, but I'm just doing a teaspoon just for taste. All right, so we're gonna mix all that together. Okay, so all my liquids now are in my bowl. So if you see my bowl again, the color is because I'm using date syrup, so the color of yours is not going to be the same. All right, it smells like almond. I don't know about you, but mine smells like almond. So
it smells really good, I think.
All right, we're gonna set that aside.
Okay.
Just a second, okay? And we're gonna go ahead and grab some dry ingredients.
Okay, so I can do that in a separate bowl then, since I use my mixer, right?
Right. I'm debating right now if we want to do the egg whites first, but I feel like we should do all our liquids. So, okay. So with our dry ingredients, take the same bowl so you don't have to mix different like bowls and things like that. You can put this all in the same bowl of what you've been putting your other ingredients in right now. Okay. So I've got, you need 1.5 cups of almond flour. And again, if you want to mix and match with all-purpose flour or bread flour or cake flour, if that's what you've got at hand, that's fine. But you need to have it total 1.5.
Okay, so this is where I get everything ruined. Because like I've heard, you know, when you're using flour, don't scoop right out of the flour.
Use a spoon, yeah. The reason why you do that is because if you go ahead and just pack it in, you might actually be more flour in than you need. But a lot of people go ahead and scoop and then they level off, and that usually works. But if you want to be super exact about it, you can spoon it in and then do the same thing and level off. Okay. Depending on, you know, what you're doing. Almond flour, make sure it has little like pieces that clump up in the flour, and make sure that that's completely crumbled, because it's going to definitely add into the cake. But almond, because you're not using all-purpose flour, the tendency to add more, or like if it's going to add more, will not technically hurt us at this point. Okay. So we'll be okay. If you are using an all-purpose flour, you definitely should do the spoon level method, because you don't want to add extra flour at all. Okay. I am going to do a cheat. I'm using 1.25 cups almond flour and 1/4 cup of all-purpose, because I ran out of almond flour. So because I'm not gluten-free, I can cheat. But if you're trying to be gluten-free and trying to be healthy, don't do as Julianne. So all of that, 1.5 cups going straight into the bowl. So I'm going to show you my bowl, or try to show you my bowl. I'm going to go ahead and put my flour, and then you can see my little all-purpose in there. That's 1.5 cups. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. This is just plain baking powder. 1 teaspoon, that goes straight in. And remember, we are not adding salt, which is usually what happens in the dry ingredient stage. But because there's salt in the butter that you've used, unless you use unsalted butter, we don't have to add extra. So all we're going to do is we're just going to stir that together. Just give it a quick stir. It doesn't have to be super thorough, just enough that it's incorporated in. So I'm just going to go ahead and just a quick stir.
So you said a half teaspoon of the baking.
You're using a whole teaspoon.
Okay.
1 whole teaspoon because especially because this is gluten-free with the almond flour. Well, yours will be. Julianne just cheated and she added extra flour because I'm just going to go ahead and mix it enough that I don't see any flour, but it doesn't have to be super mixed because we're going to keep mixing this after we add the egg whites. So at this stage, we are going to go ahead and mix our egg whites and make a meringue. It's not super meringue enough that it's glossy, but it doesn't have to be super, super sticky. But the reason why is, like I said before, we're trying to. So I would recommend using a hand or a stand mixer. You can do this by hand, but if you use it by hand, remember you're using elbow grease. It's going to take you longer. And I mean, I suppose you haven't had your workout today and you really want to get your arm movement happening. I say do it by hand, but it will take a second. If you are feeling a little bit unsteady about your meringue method technique, you can always add about a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar or 1/2 teaspoon of vinegar and add that to the bowl to make the meringue. Because I know sometimes people get a little scared of their meringue. I know that I do because it's not stable sometimes. So I'm actually going to go ahead and add a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar to my egg whites. So we've separated our egg whites from our egg yolks. And that is what I'm going to mix. So I'm going to put aside my bowl that I have mixed with all my other ingredients. And then I'm going to take my egg whites. And we're going to go ahead and just start mixing the egg whites on low. I'm using a mixer. So here we go. I'm going to start it on low.
I'm going to be a little bit behind you because I'm switching my bowls.
What was that, Lina?
I said I'm going to be a little bit behind you because I'm switching my bowls.
Oh, okay.
But
That's all right, I'll talk about it too. So you can see my eggs are starting to foam up as I start on low. Once you start seeing the foam, if you're using cream of tartar or vinegar, which is about, like I said, a 1/4 teaspoon or 1/2 teaspoon of vinegar, and if this is not necessary, if you do not have it at home, you don't have to use it. It's as simple as that. This is just what I call a crutch. So if you need it because you are afraid that your meringue won't stabilize, then add it in. And if you are totally confident about your meringue, which again, this is an added extra piece to this recipe, because like I said before when I was chatting with Lina in the beginning, you could totally just put a whole egg in, but we're doing this because we're trying to add air. So remember that. So once it's foamy though, if you want to add any of those extras, you can. So here is my hand mixer. Here's my small little bowl of egg whites. I'm adding in my cream of tartar because I don't trust my meringue, and I am going to go ahead and see how it's foamy. Start on low, and then we can And while Luna's doing her bowl cleaning, and I'm waiting for an egg white, I'm practically yelling because you can't hear me in the mixer. But we're waiting for it to get glossy. We're waiting for the egg whites to be glossy. It's going to start forming peaks when you start mixing it, and I'll show you what that looks like. But at the end of it, we should be able to take your egg whites and stick the bowl over your head, and they shouldn't move. So you should be so confident that your egg whites will not move. So whip it up. It's going to start turning white, and it's going to start looking like sort of like clouds. Things like
the glaciers.
What was that?
I said like the glaciers.
Yes, that's a good analogy right there.
We'll get there.
And then Mary can answer any questions should any come up while we're both mixing and can't hear a thing and you can't hear us. So here we go.
Quick question before we start. So if I don't have cream of tartar, is there?
You can use vinegar. Do you like white vinegar?
I have apple cider vinegar. That would
That
change.
works. Yeah, that's
that
half
works?
a teaspoon. Yeah.
Okay, half a teaspoon. We'll give it a try.
Yeah, but if you don't want to use it either, you don't have to. Either way. So mine is in a foamy-ish state, but see how it's dropping and it's still kind of liquidy? That's not correct. So I'm going to keep going. But see how there are some peaks happening, but look how it's sliding. That means it's not stiff yet, so it's going to keep going.
Okay, start.
All right, start it. Low. I'm going to stop it here because it's giving me some soft peaks, but I'll show you what it's looking like. So soft peaks, I'm checking to see if there's any slide, and there doesn't seem to be any slide. It looks pretty good. If I turn it upside down, nothing pops out. Okay, that's stiff. I don't have to mix this anymore. This is pretty good. Right?
So mine still looks foamy.
Okay, keep going.
Just keep going. Okay.
So if you look at my beaters, they too, basically, if I hang them upside down, nothing's coming off. And again, nothing's sliding in my bowl. And I can hang this upside down and nothing's coming out. So this is good. Don't overmix your egg whites. And the reason why is it'll get watery again. And then what we want, you're gonna knock out all the air. And here we go. Pseudo meringue. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this into the batter after everything is done. So you're gonna grab, I'm gonna get a bigger spatula. How are your egg whites doing, Lina? What do they look like?
We're starting to get cloudy. It's good.
Oh, good. That's good.
Okay.
Fantastic.
I'm not sure if that's what you're asking me, but that's what I think here.
No, that was basically what I was asking. All right. While she's doing that, I'm going to grab my bowl with the almond flour and the egg yolks and the butter. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what to do with your egg whites. So we're going to take the egg whites in thirds. We're going to go ahead and grab a third of it. And I'm just going to take it straight out of my bowl. So it should be like light and fluffy and cloudy. And I'm going to put it straight into my bowl. Okay?
Okay.
Like so. And I'm going to do a folding method. So what it is you go underneath and then you go over. So you're making
I know how to do this.
Okay? And we're going to do that. We're going to do this technique 3 times. So we're going to take a third each time from this bowl.
Okay.
Until you don't see any whites. So I'll show you what that looks like because it takes a second. So I'll go ahead and show you what's happening with my bowl while we're waiting for Lina's. And we're trying not to knock out the air. I usually tilt my own bowl while I do this. But you can start seeing my my batter is loosening up a little bit because now it has a little bit more moisture. And then it's pretty incorporated and it's pretty mixed. And I'm going to take another third, dump that in. And I'm going to do the same. And I'm going to do the same thing that I was doing before. I'm just going to go ahead and fold it in. And you're going to start seeing that your batter will be looser. Mine was pretty stiff earlier, but because I'm adding in the aeration, the moisture, it is loosening up some more. So this is the last of mine. You good with your egg whites, Lina?
Yeah, I think so. Here, let me show you.
I'm very excited about the method of putting it upside down.
Oh, maybe we're not there yet.
Not yet? Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Is it sliding still in the bowl?
Well, I'm scared.
Okay. Yeah, then give it a little bit of a whirl.
Oh, I think it's actually good. Yeah.
Oh, no, you're good. You're okay.
Okay, we're good. Okay, so now is when I start folding.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's actually good that Lina tested it, because, like I said, if you overbeat your whites, it will be problematic because it's not going to incorporate as well. So it's good because we're trying to.
I think we're at a good level.
We're trying to grab the air out, right? We don't want it to look. It's just like when you're whipping cream. Oh. That always scares me. Doesn't it scare you? Like for just a second, I always go, I don't know.
No, like should I do it? Okay.
So I'm folding the last of my egg whites. And we're going to go out. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm folding the last of my egg whites in.
Okay. I'm going to start the fold.
Yes. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know, if I cut through, will that be okay? Yes. You can totally do that as well. You can totally cut through the batter in the middle and fold over. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that there's no more white streaks of egg white. And at the same time, you're trying to knock in the air. Or actually not knock out the air. So I feel like I have lumps. That could be my flour.
I think I made sure I crushed up my almonds enough that I'm good.
Okay. I just see this like one small pocket of flour. Aha! So I don't know about you guys, but I saw, make sure there's no random flour. Okay. You see big pockets of flour, problematic. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to take this batter when you're done with it, and I'm just going to put it in the pan that I prepared earlier, right, with the butter and the sugar. And I'm just going to pour that in. Ooh, I see some flour on the bottom.
So I might have mixed everything already.
Oh, great. Wow, that's fantastic.
I think I put all the flours into the wet mixture. Yeah. And then I just folded into, is that fine?
That's right. No, that was
That's what happens.
You're
Okay.
Right. You're not wrong. That's right.
Okay.
So I was just recounting that when I mixed in my flour, I didn't make sure my almond flour was completely flattened, and I might have lumps. But I'll take care of that as I pour it in. I'm seeing the lumps at the bottom, so I'm going to poke them. What's good about the almond flour, it's not like those flour pockets of all purpose, where all of a sudden in the middle of your cake, you see like a pocket of white flour. The almond flour is actually going to be all right. Okay, so I'm using my spatula and I'm pouring all of that into my pan. It smells really good. It smells like almonds, which is what we want. And then what we're going to do is you're just going to go ahead and smooth out the top. I just smooth it out with my spatula. And we're going to take about a 1/3 cup of slivered almonds.
Okay.
So I'm going to grab those. Let me get those. Now, you can use slivered or you can use sliced. I'm using sliced almonds. It comes up again, I know. So I'm using sliced almonds. You can use slivered if you've got them. I like the consistency of sliced almonds because they actually are a little bit larger. And we're just going to go ahead and
that's what I was saying. I was like, I think I got the sliced ones. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the ones you want. So I'm going to go ahead, and it's about a 1/3 of a cup. I'm going to eyeball this, and you're just going to sprinkle the top of the cake with the almonds.
Okay. Real quick, Julie, I want you to take a look at my batter.
Okay. Let me stare at it.
And good.
Oh, that looks really good. That looks delicious. Yeah.
Okay, it got nice and fluffy, so I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah. No, sorry, Mary. I'm having technical difficulties again where my camera, it doesn't show any movement for like a second. It shuts me off, and I don't know why. And it's only been happening recently on Instagram, so it just kicks everybody off, which I'm sure everyone's pissed off about because they're like, I was watching you. What happened? So I'm just adding to the top, and you can put in extra almonds. You don't have to stick to the 1/3 if you want. I'm just going to cover my cake.
I'm really excited about this. I love almond anything, so.
I know, that batter looks really good. Okay. And then you're going to take some turbinado sugar if you want. You don't have to. Try to stay away from those refined sugars. And you're going to go ahead and put some turbinado sugar on top. I just like sprinkling. I have the packet, so I just like sprinkling on top. And it's just going to give it a crunchy little texture. It's like a tablespoon or two. You don't have to go crazy. Up to you. It is your cake. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons about off the top. There you go. And then this is going to go into the oven for about 30 minutes. We're going to watch it 30 to 40 minutes. And I'm going to pop it in right now. And it does not have a removable base, so it's not going to leak on me this time around. But if you're using a pan with a removable base, make sure you stick it on a cookie sheet or a tray because it will leak, as I learned the hard way multiple times. So I'm going to stick this in the oven, middle rack, 350 degrees. I'm going to set the timer for about 30 minutes. And while that is happening, I'm going to go ahead and gather all my things and start to put things in a bowl. And then we can talk about how we're going to top this cake.
Yeah. So we want to do like make a syrup, you said, like a...
Yeah, we can go ahead and make a really quick glaze. That's really simple. Or you can just use a powdered sugar. You don't even have to use anything on top, right? It's completely up to you. But depending on how you're feeling today and what you want to make. I mean, we've got time while we wait, so we can totally make it.
All right, sounds good to me.
Yeah, but do not feel rushed. Instagram will probably cut us off before this cake is baked, as it normally does. And if it does, you know that we're just going to come right back. So, and kudos to everybody that, like Mary, who came back after it kicked her off. I think it's kicked me off at least 2 or 3 times now during this. I don't know what it is. I've got to go ahead and double check what's happening.
All right, so I'm ready now.
Oh, that looks yummy.
Okay, so 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
I'm gonna set my timer.
Yes.
Is it a big glaze that you're making too?
Yeah. All right, set a timer for 30 minutes there.
Okay, baby.
All right, I've gathered all my bowls and dirty dishes, and I'm about to stick this into my sink.
Okay. What are we gonna need to make the glaze? Like a bowl?
Yeah, if you wanted to grab another bowl, like a small bowl, we can go ahead and make a glaze. So, like I told Lina, you don't have to create a glaze for the cake. It's perfectly okay if you just want to top it with powdered sugar. You don't even have to top it with powdered sugar. You need it as is, right? But in our case scenario, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make a really quick glaze with some powdered sugar. So if you've got some powdered sugar on hand, we're going to go ahead and grab some. So you're going to need some powdered sugar, more vanilla extract if you've got it. If you want to make it taste more almondy, you can use almond extract. It's totally okay. And we are also going to go ahead and use any kind of milk, or if you've got alternative milk, like almond milk, coconut milk, anything like that, cream, half and half, doesn't matter. We're going to use a little bit of that, and we're going to make a really quick glaze. And what we're going to do is this glaze is kind of almost like a donut glaze. So once the cake cools and you glaze the top, when the glaze cools down, it will also sort of thicken and harden. So on top of the cake versus, like, think of it like a donut. You know, like on the top of the donut, the glaze is hard, but underneath it's still soft. That's basically what we're going for. Okay. So grab a really quick bowl. I'm going to grab some powdered sugar.
So I just realized I don't have powdered sugar.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, so are there other options or? Maybe like honey.
You have, actually, powdered sugar you can make. If you have, do you have granulated sugar and cornstarch?
I do.
If you mix granulated sugar and cornstarch, you can make powdered sugar.
Okay, how does that work?
I know. I was just thinking about that.
I'm like, what? Okay.
Yes. Mary, since you're on here, I think the ratio is 1 cup of powdered sugar and it's 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, but can you double check and let us know? But all you have to do is blend them together and you will make powdered sugar, because all powdered sugar is granulated sugar and cornstarch. Yeah. Mary's recommending a food processor if you have it. Anything with a blade, that's probably the best thing.
Okay, let me see what I got.
Yeah. And then Mary, I think it's true. I think it's 1 cup to 2 tablespoons maybe, but I could be wrong. Double check for me. I think I'm wrong. Actually, I guess I could look as well. It's not like my computer's not far away from me. I'll just be away from the screen and no one will see anything for a hot minute.
You keep going.
I was about to say, I was looking up the ratios. So I was, off the top of my head, I thought 2 to 2 or 1 to 2. Actually, it's 1 to 1. So it's one cup of powdered sugar or 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1 cup of cornstarch, or 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Yes, thank you, Mary. 1 cup to 1 tablespoon. Thank you.
So 1 cup sugar to 1 tablespoon cornstarch. That sounds okay. Sounds doable.
Yeah. If you don't have it, we can also make like a lemon, like we can do like honey, lemon.
Yeah, because I have honey and I have lemon. So you do one, I do one.
Yeah, we can do that too.
All right, let's try that.
So, you know, I'm just thinking, Lina, you can make yours more like a poke cake. Like you poke your,
yeah,
and then
just like have it just. Okay, I'll try that. That'll be my cake.
That actually sounds really good. I'll show you a glaze, and if you're trying to make powdered sugar at home, though, since we were discussing it, Mary suggests using a powerful blender or a food processor. I agree. Something with a very sharp blade that will spin very quickly, like a Vitamix, is a good one too. It's 1 cup of granulated sugar and 1 tablespoon of cornstarch if you're in a pinch, and you can make powdered sugar. And that's all you need, because powdered sugar is just regular sugar and cornstarch, just like brown sugar is regular sugar and molasses.
Molasses, right?
So,
okay.
So what we're gonna do is, Lina, for you, since you're trying to make a syrup,
yeah,
I would go ahead and take about a lemon and squeeze a juice of 1 lemon, and then zest the lemon, and we're gonna add sugar or honey to your syrup.
Okay, I have honey. And I also have rose water. I don't know if that'll do anything, but
Ooh,
rose water to get fancy with the rose water.
that sounds fancy. Because what I'm going to suggest that you do is take your, and this is off the top of Julianne's head, I would go ahead and take the juice of a lemon and the zest, and then go ahead on top of your stove, mix in some honey. I would start with about 1/4 cup of honey, and just go ahead and mix that together, and it like get it to about like a low boil, and then simmer it for about 5 minutes, and it should start to thicken up. And that should be good enough. And then when your cake comes out of the oven, you can just poke holes in it and then pour that syrup on the top and let it soak.
That sounds too easy.
It should be start with 1/4 cup of honey, and then if you feel like you need more, you can add more, but you don't have to. And I suppose you could add a splash of rose water if you'd like. Do you think that would meld the flavors funny, lemon and rose water?
Lemon and rose, I don't know.
Maybe I know. Don't do it. Just do the lemon.
Maybe we'll have to do that another day.
Okay. For those of you who want to follow me while we're waiting for this cake to bake, I'm going to go ahead and grab start with about 1/2 cup. I always like starting small because then if you need to, you can go ahead and add more. So if you have just joined, Lina and I have our cakes. We're making almond coffee cake. They're in the oven, and I'm going to be checking on that in the next 20 minutes. But while that's happening, we've decided we're going to go ahead and make some sort of glaze or syrup for this cake. I'm going to make a traditional vanilla glaze for this cake, which I described as more of like a donut-y glaze. And Lina is going to go ahead and create a syrup out of lemon juice and honey that she's going to go ahead and sprinkle on her cake. She's going to poke holes in and then add the syrup so that the syrup goes through the cake, which is going to make it very delicious, I have a feeling. She can actually even add, Lina, you can put a pinch or 2 of salt.
Oh, yeah, just to give it a little.
To give it a little bit of a balance. So if you're going to follow Lina, she is taking juice of a lemon and the zest. Start with 1/4 cup of honey. She's putting it over the stovetop. She's going to go ahead and get that to a little bit of a boil and then simmer that down for about 5 minutes to try to go ahead and concentrate down the syrup. She's sort of making a simple syrup in a way, except instead of using water, she's using lemon juice. So that's a good syrup that she's making right now. I'm going to go ahead and start with about 1/4 cup of, ooh, Mary found a brown sugar glaze. That sounds good too, Mary.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Ooh, how does one, Mary, tell everybody how they can make a brown sugar glaze. Everyone else, if you're following me, I'm making powdered sugar one. So I'm going to start with a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, which if I can get my measuring cups, I have just a regular bowl. So Mary says for the brown sugar glaze, it's a cup of brown sugar, 3 teaspoons of milk, and 1/2 teaspoon vanilla extract.
Oh, that sounds so good. Maybe I'll do 50/50.
Ooh, yeah. If you've got brown sugar, yeah.
Yeah, I got brown sugar. Let's try that.
So 1 cup brown sugar, 3 teaspoons of milk. That's actually pretty close to the powdered sugar glaze I'm making. So she's recommending 1 cup brown sugar, 3 teaspoons milk, and 1/2 teaspoon vanilla extract, and you just mix that together.
We can use like any milk, like almond.
Yep. Any liquid. Yep. Any milk. And then we are doing something similar with my glaze. We are going to start with, I start with a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, and then I move up. So I'm going to start with a 1/4 cup, and you just put this in a bowl. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to dump this out. I'm using this cup that I had earlier that I had my flour in, and I don't want to wash any more dishes. So 1/4 cup, that goes straight into this bowl. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab, I got cream, but I really want to use this almond coconut milk because we're making almond cake. So I'm going to use almond coconut milk. That sounds delicious.
Okay, that does sound delicious. I'm going to just do my almond.
But you can use regular milk if you've got it, or if you've got some heavy cream, 50/50. Doesn't, any of those like non-dairy milks, soy milk, anything you'd like. And I start with, like Mary's recipe, I start with about a teaspoon of that. And I'm just going to pour that straight into my bowl.
Couldn't I do like a 1/2 teaspoon almond, 1/2 teaspoon vanilla?
Oh, extract?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could.
So it's like a little bit of both?
Yeah. So, yeah, you could. So I'm taking just a teaspoon, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in about 1/2 teaspoon of, I forgot my vanilla extract's being awful to me. Ooh. I'm trying to be water. My vanilla extract does not like me. I might just use almond extract. I'm gonna use about a 1/4 teaspoon. Let me dump that in. And then I'm just gonna mix that up with, you can use a spoon, you can use a spatula, and I'll show you guys what's happening here with mine. So mine is pretty thick. I'm gonna add some more milk, and I'm gonna add a teaspoon at a time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add 1 more teaspoon of milk. And this is how you're making the glaze. You're eyeballing it, and you're trying to get it to your consistency. So now mine's a little bit looser. Mine's a little bit loose. That's good. But I'm going to go ahead and add in another, because the glaze doesn't seem like a lot. I'm going to add in another 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. So now I've got 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, 2 teaspoons of any kind of liquid or milk, and about 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. And now I'm mixing this, and see how my glaze is getting thicker? So what it is this game you're playing is, it depends on how thick you want it. So this is really thick. So I'm going to add in some more milk. So now it's 3 teaspoons.
Okay, so this is what mine's starting to look like because, I mean, it's brown sugar.
Yeah.
But give that a try.
Yeah. If you feel like, Lina, if you feel like it's too thick, you can always add more sugar in.
Right. I mean, I think it's good because it's kind of like, it's pretty syrupy.
Yeah, mine is pretty loose now. So mine is thick still, but it's loose. And that's what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone. So
Okay.
I've used about 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, 3 teaspoons of, I'm using an almond coconut milk, but you can use any milk you've got, and then about 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. But you can use vanilla extract. You can use 1/2 almond, 1/2 vanilla. Depends on what you want to go ahead and do. And then what Lina is doing on her side is she is using brown sugar instead of powdered sugar, and doing the same thing. Oh, that looks really good. That looks good.
Yeah, it's like very fall-like, so I'm excited for it.
Okay. So now our glazes are made, and what's going to happen is, are you not doing the other glaze? That's the glaze you're going with?
I might do...
Are you going to do both? Are you? No. Are you really?
Maybe half-half, like, you know, when you get a pizza and half of it's pepperoni and half pizza.
I love it. Or you can even do thirds, like, and you like a third of it, like plain, just to see.
Right. Just to see.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead. What's bad about the glaze is you can't glaze your cake when it's hot, obviously.
Okay.
Because what's gonna happen is it's just gonna go ahead and liquefy, and it's going to melt right back into your cake, which is great if you want it to be like a syrup, but we're trying to keep the glaze. So you're gonna have to let your cake cool down about to room temp, and then go ahead and add the glaze.
Okay.
So everybody, you're gonna have to hold on to your glaze for a little bit longer. So sorry about that. And I'm cooking on the cake in about 15 minutes, and in about 9 minutes, Instagram is gonna shut us down. But what we'll do is we'll just hop on back, and you'll see how our cake's finished. And if you want to, that is. But thanks for following along with that.
I know, this has been a lot of fun, actually. Like, a little nervous.
Don't be, you did great. I don't know why you were nervous at all. Uh-oh, there we go. Yeah, you did great. I don't know why you were nervous at
So
all.
this is the other one.
Oh.
The other one came out pretty syrupy, so.
Oh, good. Yeah, that looks good. So give it a little bit of a taste. If it needs more honey, if it needs salt, like.
Ooh, it's really honey lemony.
Oh, nice. Okay. So with that particular one, what I would do is when the cake comes out of the oven, poke holes in the cake, and then pour the syrup in and let it saturate inside the cake.
Okay.
That's what I would do for that. And then the glaze, you're just going to glaze over. So those are 2 different glazes that are going on. 3 really, because Julian made a powdered sugar one. So we are being so extra right now, and it's fantastic. Other than that, I would start putting all your things away. Like or I'm trying to be a little clean as you go, as they say. And then my kitchen smells like cake. And it is going to be about 15 minutes. So, and I expect in the next 7 minutes or so, Instagram will probably cut us off, and I'll just go ahead and restart this whole thing, and you can rejoin us to find out how our cakes turned out. But what we're looking for is your cake should be about golden brown on top. And if you stick a toothpick in it and you lift it out, you should come out clean. There should not really be any crumbs. If it's too liquidy, it needs a little bit more time. And what I like to do is I like to give it about 5-minute increments. So if it comes out a little bit wet, I go, okay, I'm going to check it again in about 5 minutes.
Oh, it smells so good.
Yeah, like I can smell the almond. It's like it smells like a really nice, like almondy scented cake. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word cake. I'm like, what does it smell like? It smells like cake, guys. That's what it smells like. So, oh my gosh, Lina, how are you liking living in New York since you've moved?
So far, it's great. It's, you know, the only thing that really sucks about it is like not getting to do everything on my list of things I was excited to do when we moved here, but it'll be good. It'll be time, you know, it's good to like get settled and then start exploring, I think.
Agreed. I
Excited.
agree. I know, and you know what, up there where you're at, in the fall, it's going to be so nice.
It's so beautiful up here. Like, I'm really excited to go to like orchards and pumpkin patches. It's crazy. Like, they're only doing by like, you have to reserve a spot and a time to go do a pumpkin patch. So, you know, at least they're open.
That's true. Because that's a big thing that people in New York City do in the fall is we like going apple picking.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was thinking about that. I'm like, I wonder how they're going to do that, like, with the pandemic, if they're going to, exactly what you're saying, like, maybe they do slots.
They're doing it, like, I found one, it's like $50 for a family of 4, and if there's more people, so you can bring more people, you just have to do group tickets. And then I think it's like 2 bushels or so. It's crazy. I don't even know exactly what it is, but it's like 50 pounds or 20 pounds of apples. I was like, what are you going to do with 20 pounds of apples? But
make a lot of
season, right? And hey, maybe we can make like an apple cake or something. I don't know.
Oh,
I know. I'm thinking like butter. Like, what would you make? Like a whole bunch. My parents, when I was growing up, we had a peach tree, and we were picking peaches. And my mom, we had like a huge table full of peaches, and my mom was like, "I don't know what to do with all these peaches." We made jam all summer. Like that's all she was making. She was making jam, and we were like giving jam away because of the fact that we just had so many. Because there's only so many you can eat, right? You're like,
and then you're like done with it. You're like, I'm never eating another peach jam for 3 years or something.
Well, now that you about it, like you probably could cut it up, froze it, make a smoothie out of it. I don't know. Like, so many different things that you could do. But yeah, like that. I love. Most of the time, I think my favorite season in New York is fall in New York. So
I'm excited. So I'm really excited to see what it's like here.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be nice, and it's gonna be beautiful up there. So
it's gonna be way better than being in Savannah. I mean, Savannah's beautiful, but like it stayed humid. I mean, all year round.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it could. I mean, it might be cold, but it's like humid and cold. So that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, there's definitely gonna be weather here, but I feel like in the dead of winter, all you can think about is why did I leave a warm place? Why am I here? Because it's gonna get so cold. But then you just stay inside. So.
Ooh, apple butter. That sounds good.
Oh, that's good. Oh, galettes. Yeah, I like
galettes too. Yeah, I mean, there's so much we could do.
And then all the healthy people are like, or you could just eat the apples as God intended, right? Eat the apples,
But if we bake the apples, it's a lot more fun.
Exactly. I've got, my timer says I've got at least another 10 minutes. How about you, Lina, for the cake?
What's the timer at?
10:42.
Yeah, 10:42. So I put it in like a little bit after you did.
Okay, cool. So in about 10-ish minutes, we can check on it and see. I like erring on the less time and then not waiting.
And going, that's how I like to.
Yeah, because it goes, depending on what your oven is like, it can go, you can burn something in like a minute. Like you walk away and you're like, it's fine. And then you walk away and then it just burnt. So.
Well, I mean, a broiler especially, it's not to be trusted.
I know. It's like, and I feel like everyone's ovens are different too. So what could be, I mean, I am actually tempted to check it maybe a minute or two before, just because of the fact that, because your temperature gauge in your oven might not actually be what it is, which is why lots of people like putting thermometers in their oven just to double check. Or if you like live somewhere with a high elevation, that's going to be problematic too. So everyone's ovens are different. That's why they give you that weird ratio when you look in recipes and they're like, 30 to 40, 30 to 50, and you're like, why is it such a wide range? And that's the reason why. So, but in T-minus 2 minutes, I think Instagram is going to cut us off. So prepare for that, and don't be scared if like we drop off.
What is that? Is it just an hour? You only get an hour, and then
they just think that people should stop talking in an hour, which is fair. I mean, that's very fair because I feel like a lot of people are like, it's kind of like that you should be done in like 10 minutes because then I've moved on and I need to like look at something else. But we're live baking, so it's not like we just took something out of the oven as soon as we put it in and we took it out.
We're not scrolling the gram. We're doing something here.
No, we're actually doing it. So it's taking a second. So Instagram will cut us off in about a minute, but we're really close to being done. That I feel like we're probably going to be on for like another 10 minutes after. Fingers crossed. So there goes my timer. In 1 minute and 56 seconds, Instagram is going to cut us off. So everybody,
and I'll get right back on.
Mary, yes, jump back on, and we will finish our cake so you can see how our cakes turned out. And Lina is going to be a rock star, and she's going to try to do this 2 different ways. So you definitely want to go ahead and check that out. I wonder if celebrity accounts ever get cut off. Is Mary's question. I bet they don't. I bet
they don't.
Yeah, I bet the perk is you get as much time as you want. Like if you're one of those blue check box. All right, we are back on Instagram. So as promised or as stated, Instagram cut us off at the 1 hour mark, and we are actually still waiting about 5 minutes for the cakes to come out of the oven. So if you were following along with us earlier this afternoon, Lina and I are making almond coffee cakes, and we just put it in the oven, I'd say about 25 minutes ago. So in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and check mine. Lina's gonna go ahead and check on hers. I've got Mary back on, and we are gonna go ahead and finish these cakes. So that is where we're at. We have been so good at this point to getting these up in less than an hour, but cakes are always so particular because depending on the pan you're using too. If you use maybe like a loaf pan, it's going to take a little bit longer. If you're going to use any of those other kinds of things, it's going to take a little bit shorter. If you use like a wider pan, so or at least a thinner pan, so free catch, free for all. So I'm grabbing Lina again, and hopefully no technical difficulties. Part 2, yes. I pop up again. I definitely David in the back. Didn't see him. I don't know who that was. Didn't see him. So I was just saying 5 minutes away from checking. This is all very exciting for our Saturdays, that we're going to have some almond cake happening. And if you were following along earlier, Lina is doing 2 different syrup/glazes. I'm going for one. I might do one half-size glaze, the other side not glazed. We'll just to see. I know it's up to you. It's up to you, right? So we're making what we call an almond.
Starting to get really golden.
Oh, good. Most coffee cakes, like the traditional crumb coffee cakes, is what you think of when you think coffee cake, with like the streusel on top and things like that. And to be fair, we could have created a streusel for the top, but I like the idea of just having nuts and a glaze on top and keeping it simple, because true to its name, if you're having it with coffee or a cup of tea, you don't want the flavors to kind of get overpowered by everything else, right? So it's going to be a little bit sweet to kind of offset what's happening with your beverage of choice. So I should have taken this time to put things away, but I did not. I instead have been juggling away, but I'm going to start putting it away. It smells really good, I can report. I wish we had smell vision.
I know.
Smell what's happening in my kitchen already. I know. I'm gonna turn my oven light on and give it a peek. I'm curious. Actually, I might take mine out really quick because I think actually this might be done.
You're gonna take yours out? Okay, I'm gonna
take it out.
You have 2 minutes.
I have 2 minutes left on mine, but I'll check it.
Okay.
Because it's looking golden.
Mine is definitely, mine was golden because in the beginning as well, because I put the date syrup in it, so it was a little rounder. But that looks pretty done. That looks pretty done, right? So I'm gonna take my toothpick, stick it. I like checking in 3 places. There's a little bit of crumbs. I might put it back in.
I don't know. I think mine is done.
Yeah, actually, I'm now poking it in a whole bunch of other places. Yeah. And it's coming out.
I'm gonna take her out.
It's coming out a little bit wet, like not really, just a couple of crumbs that I'm actually debating whether or not put it back. I might put it back for like 2 minutes.
I think mine might be done only because it's like a bigger pan.
Yeah.
So it's not as, it's thinner. Like you see?
Yeah. Oh, that looks good. And it looks done.
Yeah, I think it's done.
So if it is done, Lina, actually, while you are there, take your toothpick or like a fork or whatever and just poke some holes on the side you're going to put the glaze on. And I would pour some of the glaze
into it. Okay.
Yep. The lemon honey one. But if everyone else, if you're using a glaze like I'm using my powdered sugar glaze, it has to wait till it's cool. I know it sucks. But you're going to have to wait until it cools down a little bit. And you're going to find as this glaze cools down, it's going to get a little bit of a hardened top. That's fine. Just mix it and it'll go back to this state. So you should be okay. So I went and put mine back in because I had a little bit of like wetness in the middle, but I definitely know that the outside is completely done. Cameos.
Yep, cameos by good old David.
Sorry.
So Lina is poking holes in her cake. she's going to go ahead and add in any syrup. She doesn't have to use all the syrup either, by the way. She can just pour as much as she wants. But if you poke enough holes in it, the syrup should go right through the cake. And what'll happen is when you cut the cake later, you'll have pockets of syrup in the cake.
That just come through it? Okay.
Yeah. Which is even better, too, like when it's cooled down. I like putting my cake in the fridge. I know that's weird. A lot of people, I like cold cake. I've always been a fan.
I think David likes cold desserts, too. And I'm like, chocolate shouldn't be frozen.
That is true.
Like, I really am not a frozen chocolate kind of girl.
That is true. Chocolate should not be frozen. I've got another toothpick. I've got my cake out. I'm going to go ahead and drop my cake.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I was about to say, I was like, it's a good thing my table's really wide. I was not about to catch up with my bare hand. I was like, hot pan, hot pan.
Yeah, hot pan, let it go. Hot pan, let it go.
So I will not tilt this. I have my toothpick. I'm going to stick it in the middle. Mine's done. It's completely clean. So Lina and I are done. I'm going to go ahead and let this cool down on my rack, my cooling rack in the pan until it comes to room temp, and then I'm going to pop it out. And the best thing to do to pop this cake out is I would just take a plate, invert it, and then invert back, and you should have the cake facing frontwards when you take it out of the pan, okay? Go ahead and release the sides. What happens is with the cake pan, if you're going to take the whole cake out, release the sides before you flip it over. Or you can eat it straight from the pan. Completely up to you. It's your fancy, it's your cake. But wait until this is room temp if you're going to put a glaze on it. Otherwise, you can go ahead and store this in an airtight container. You can store it on your countertop if you like for like a day or two. Or you can go ahead and take this cake, stick it in an airtight container, and put it in your fridge for a week, and then just take it out to get it to room temp whenever you want it. Or you can even freeze it for up to a month. So it'll just be like eating it like the day you baked it if you freeze it, I promise. Okay. So we are done with our cakes. Lina,
I'm really excited. Hold on, I gotta get this. It's really hot. I keep thinking I can touch it, but I can't. But I'm super excited.
Yay, we did it. If anybody was baking along or, you are going to make this, please tag Lina and I so we can see your creations. Let us know how it turned out. Otherwise, thank you as always for spending your Saturday with me. And Lina, thank you for baking with me. I'm so glad that you were able to join me. And for Mary, as always, who joins in and every single week has been helping me field the comment section. Thank you so much, as always. Lina, it was so good seeing your face. I should sing your face.
I know you too. Thank you for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And everybody, we're taking a break in September, so you're not going to see me, I think, for a few Saturdays, but we're going to pick it back up in October. And I promise we'll have more baking to go on. And until then, enjoy your Saturdays. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend and the rest of your summer, because it's about to be gone. It's going to be fall.
I'm excited, though. We didn't really have much of a summer, did we?
I know. We didn't have much of a summer. I'm hoping, dear 2020, please be better. Fingers crossed. So thank you. All right. We're done.
Bye.
Yay.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, Lina.
Bye.
Bye, Mary.
Bye, Mary. Thanks for the help.